in the great bicycle shortage of 2020, 2021, we are on the prowl. And look what we found today. We have a brand new, well, it's new to us, Cannondale Trail 7. Now here's the short story. I have many friends that are out looking for bikes, as are so many other people out in the world today, and there's just a bicycle shortage. So they've asked me to go out and find some bikes. We found this bike on the Facebook Marketplace this week for $350. And so we're gonna take and fix it up, show you what we do to kind of get it all tuned up and back to good working order, because this bike needs a little TLC. So come along with us and we'll rip right into this bike and show you all the little nitty gritty details about getting a bike up and running, especially when you get a used bike from the marketplace. Starting up here in the cockpit, we've got some really standard, cheap kind of gear shifter brake all in one. So we're gonna leave those here for the person that this is gonna go to. These are gonna be just sufficient for what he's gonna do. He's gonna be doing a lot of commuting and beginner trail riding. So I think that's gonna work. We're gonna change out these grips, right? I just don't feel like this red matches that green, so we're gonna give him a new set of grips. The fork is pretty standard, but it's also in pretty good shape. We haven't found any rust or anything. There's just a little bit of grease on here that we're gonna clean off. We've got mechanical disc brakes, but the brake pads we've checked are actually in pretty good shape. If you look here, the frame is in good shape. There's the Trail 7. We're gonna make sure we remove this sticker. Coming up here to the seat, the saddle here is in pretty good shape. Haven't found any rips or tears, so that's gonna stay nice and good. We just need to clear off there's some goo, and you can see some tarnishing here. We're gonna see if we can get that cleaned up with a little WD-40. Get all that goo off there. If we go to the drivetrain, you're gonna see a 3x8. And so it's pretty standard for kind of an entry-level mountain bike, but it's gonna be sufficient for our needs. So we're gonna call that good. We're gonna do a nice tune-up here to make sure we stop grinding. We got a little bit of grinding going on here, so we're gonna make sure we change all these things, get all these screws and everything adjusted like we need to. We'll get the chain cleaned up, but you'll also notice that the chain is in decent little shape. No real rust on that chain, but we did find one problem that's gonna cost us a little bit more time. Let's see if we can show them this. Okay, first of all, let's show them this one. Right here, we have a broken spoke. So we gotta get that spoke changed out. And then, once we get that spoke changed out, watch this tire. That thing is wobbling and dancing all over the place. That ain't gonna cut it. So we're gonna take out our special tool. This is our spoke wrench right here, and we're just gonna take a little zip tie. We'll show you how we do that. We'll try to get these all straightened out and tightened up the way they should be. If you look at the rubber on that tire, it's actually in pretty good shape. There's a decent amount of rubber there, especially for commuting. The front tire is a little bit worse for wear, but I think there's still enough life in there that we'll call that good for now. Okay, so we got this spoke out. It's got a little nut already here, and I've got a couple of replacement spokes for a 29-inch wheel. I am really hoping that they work. We had to take off the cassette down here. Got the cassette all taken off with our little cassette removal tool, right? With the cassette off, we were able to get the old spoke out, and we threaded the new spoke in. It was a little trickier than we thought. It wasn't what we had anticipated. We had never done it before, but it just had to do a little bit of bending of the spoke to get it in there. Probably because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. That was the first time for me. But anyway, we got to just tighten down tight enough for right now, because all of these spokes are going to have to be tightened and adjusted to straighten this whole rim out in the first place. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the cassette back on, get it back on the bike, and start cleaning it up. Since this is so greasy, would it now be the right time to wash it up really good?
I think so. Look at your fingers.
Yeah, that's a pretty dirty cassette. So rather than put this together, let's just go ahead and wash it up. All right, so what we did is we got some Dawn, right? Dawn's like the best degreaser you can come up with for these particular things, and one of our old toothbrushes. And we're just kind of cranking through here. And look how much better that looks than it did before. So we'll get the rest of that with the rag. And we'll go around too. So you can see this one start to finish. A little bit of Dawn. Don't tell Christine I used all her Dawn. So the question is, do you know which side is front and back? if you see these little grooves cut, right? That's to help shift gears, and so that's always the front. All right, so we'll just find our spot, put in a spacer, and just keep repeating. All right, we're ready. We got everything back. It's all cleaned up. We're just gonna, now we're ready to go. Look how clean that is. Can you see?
Yep.
One of the easiest things to do to a bike that most people don't understand is how to tune the gears. And it's actually quite simple. The basics are you come down here, you want to start by making sure this barrel adjuster is all the way in. So there's as little extra tension, or maybe with an extra finger turn or two in the barrel adjuster. Then you shift the gears in the back down to the bottom, the gears in the front down to the bottom, so everything's on its smallest cog. You loosen up the cable here and you just finger tighten it. So like you finger pull here and then use your tool, your Allen wrench, to tighten this down. And that'll give you the good starting point. When your gears are going up too high, you take a little tension off of the cable with the barrel adjuster. When they're too low, you put a little bit more tension on. And typically it's like a quarter turn to a half a turn. It's not lots and lots of turns. So we've got that done. Now we're gonna jump right into truing the wheel. To true the wheel, what we've done is taken a little zip tie, and that zip tie acts as a guide for us so we can see visually where the bend in the wheel really is. And so as I go through here, you can kind of see as it goes further away and closer. And when it's further away, we'll tighten the spokes on this side to pull the wheel back this direction. We'll just go back and forth depending on which way the wheel has gone too far. I haven't done this exceptionally well yet. This might be my first time, but we're gonna give it a shot. Okay, our little trick here worked pretty darn well. What we did is just went spoke by spoke, and we were trying to get it as close to the edge of the zip tie as possible. And what we would do is we would just figure out if we needed to tighten or loosen which side, right? So if this side was too close, we would loosen this spoke, and then we would tighten the next spoke, right? Just trying to figure out back and forth. And so as you look through here, it's not perfect, but for our first time trying to true a wheel, I'm pretty happy with it, especially since this wheel was pretty, it was pretty much like the most disastrous thing I've seen for a long time. Okay, next up, we're gonna change out these red grips for some green ones. Here is the final product. Took us about an hour to an hour and a half. Love these grips, by the way. We got these for like $12 on Amazon, but look, you can kind of see they just match that green on the bike nicely. I think those are going to be great. Andrew, walk us through what we did.
We cleaned up the stanchions right here. They were all greasy.
We did not take them all apart and do a full service, but these are not frozen up or anything like that, so I think these are going to be just fine as is.
We also got WD-40 and a hairdryer and took a sticker off right here.
Right, so the hairdryer first to loosen up that goo, and then the WD-40. And we actually used WD-40 on the rest of this, and it cleaned up pretty good. You can tell this bike, the paint is just a little aged on here, but it's actually not in terrible, terrible shape. So we called that good for today.
We messed around with this, moving it up and down, and just kept on pedaling and testing to make sure that nothing up here was dragging on the chain.
Right, so we had to start at the very, very bottom and make sure that the alignment to the right and left was perfect. And then we started working our way to the top. And at the top, you use these two screws. One of them limits the travel this direction, and the other one limits the travel that direction. So you can't go, so that'll help you get the right alignment for the bottom and the right alignment for the top, and then the middle usually works itself out in there. Sometimes if you have to, we've even loosened up the other bolt and turned this that way and that way, just kind of like loosen, like turning it this way on the post itself.
Oh, here?
Yeah, we did that just a little bit, just to make sure that alignment was good and we weren't getting any chain dragging on this derailleur.
We took this entire thing apart and cleaned it up nice and neat, clean.
Yeah, you can see it's got a little bit of grease on it, but man, for the most part, I think it looks great. And it's shifting fantastic right now. We'll show you shifting in a second.
Dawn dish soap.
Dawn dish soap and a toothbrush, right? And there's the chain. Got the chain all nice and clean. We used a little chain degreaser and then lubed it up with some dry lube. We aligned this tire, right? That was a lot of work. But I think we did a pretty good job for our first time aligning a tire. So let's show them what it looks like now. So you can see it's got a little bit of a wobble in there still, but for two amateurs going their first time, I think that's not bad.
We also messed with the gears down here.
Yeah, we had to get these gears all shifted right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Not bad. In the great bicycle shortage of 2020, 2021, we are doing our darn best to get some of these bikes back out of the garages, out of the storage units, and back on the trail. If you need a bike, check out your Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or anywhere you can. Sometimes there's really good deals to be had. This was not a spectacular deal at $350, but it's pretty close. For anybody looking to get an entry-level mountain bike, $350 to $600 is about your sweet spot. The price of bikes is going up and up this year. I can't even tell you how expensive I've seen parts go. They're 2 to 3 times more expensive than they were 2 or 3 years ago. If you can find a bike that just needs a little bit of TLC and not a ton of parts, this is the right deal for you. So anyway, get out there, guys. Get yourselves ready. Summer is coming. The end of the pandemic, I hope, is coming. It doesn't matter. We're going to be out there riding anyway. So have a good one. We'll see you guys next time.